how to deal damage. It's a question that I've heard many times over again, and in today's video, I am going to answer that exact question. I will talk about skills, armor, weapons, ultimate enchants, normal enchants, and pets. With the timestamps in the description, you can navigate the video to the point where you like to view it. And let's get into it. Make sure to like and subscribe so we can boost the algorithm. And yeah, let's go. First of all, skills. There's two skills that directly support your damage. These skills being foraging and combat. Combat gives you extra damage and crit chance based on the level, and foraging gives strength. I would say foraging is the least important skill to level up. After the strength nerf, you do not need all that strength too much, and it's most important to get a balanced crit damage and strength ratio. So we're mostly going to talk about combat. You can level up combat by doing floor 6 frag runs, or by doing Slayer bosses. You could do every Slayer boss, but I'd recommend either Revenant Horror tier 5 or E-Man tier 4. Revenant tier 4s also work for early game, but for late game tier 5s are just so much better. So that's what I recommend you to do to level up your combat skill, because this boosts your damage by 4% around level 40 to 50. Now, for what I'd say is a little bit more important than skills in the early to late game stages, we're going to talk about weapon progression. When you start off, I'd recommend you'd buy an undead sword over here from the weaponsmith. You can buy the undead sword for 100 coins, and you'll be getting rid of it incredibly fast. Because there's two really strong weapons after it that can have you deal up to 15,000 damage in just uh, just a few hours of playing. These are the AOTE and the Raider's Axe. The AOTE is the best of the two if you don't want to put any time into foraging and killing mobs, but the Raider's Axe can be so much better than the AOTE if you collect wood. This is because the Raider's Axe gets 1 extra strength per 500 wood. Meaning that if you have the max of 50,000 wood, you can get up to an extra 100 strength, which is really strong, and it's even comparable to the AOTD. Speaking about the AOTD is the next weapon on the list. As you can see, the AOTD, or the Aspect of the Dragons, has really good base strength for its price, with only 400k lowest bin. You can either skip the Raider's Axe and AOT in its entirety and go to the AOTD instantly, but there is a combat 17 or 18 requirement for the AOTD, so that's why most people still do prefer the Raider's Axe first. Then, after the AOT, you go over to the Flower of Truth or the Livid Dagger. These are both personal preference, and the Livid Dagger is just a tiny bit more expensive, but its DPS output is also a little bit higher. Only the FOT shines in single hit damage, so one shot damage it deals more, but the 100% crit chance and 100% attack speed on the Livid Dagger is incredibly OP, and from my personal experience, I recommend to have the Livid Dagger, but it all comes down to personal preference. Now, there will be a huge jump, because now you're going to use one of the Necron's variants, which is going to be the Valkyrie, or any of the other ones, they're both fine. Only as you can see, lowest bin right now is around 870 million coins, according to SBE, and it's very expensive, and the Livid Dagger and the FOT should do just fine. Then now we are going to talk about armor sets. I'd say armor sets are the most important thing to level next to skills, but the progression isn't that big. I would recommend you to start off with a lapis armor suit, a leaflet suit, just anything that will help you survive and reforge them to fierce. After that, you should most likely go for this one item that is very, very underrated. Not so obvious, the item that I'm talking about is the spider hat. You unlock the spider hat in Spider Eye Collection over here on Collection 3. Why is this so good, you may ask? It gives a 25% crit chance. Critical hits are a critical aspect to the game, and without having a 100% crit chance, you're not going to be able to do a lot. So that's why I recommend you wear 3/4 Hardened Diamond or any other armor set like Rotten Armor, Strong Dragon Armor, or Unstable Dragon Armor, which combine the Bizarre, with a spider hat. Then onto the next set is the first set unlocked from the dungeon Catacombs Floor 5. This set is actually quite obvious, it's the Shadow Assassin set. As you can see here, I have 2/4 Shadow Assassin, and the stats are really good for its price. Reforged the Ancients gives 55 strength, which is the same as the aspect of the dragons on 2 pieces. People will call you Anons, but let them be, and just remember that you are very OP, and just, let them be annoying. Then the last set is the Necron set. Over here you can see the Necron set minus full wisdom, like pretty much Hypermax for 4/7, and I paired it with the Tarantula helmet. The Necron helmet is better, but before the strength nerf, it was critical to have as much strength as possible. Now after the strength nerf, you want to have a strength to crit chance ratio that are pretty much exactly equal to each other. As you can see, my ratio is absolutely trash and I have way more strength than crit damage. That's because the accessory bag update gives me way more strength and crit damage, and my reforges just got cancelled out, which is kind of annoying. Now, let's talk about a more critical aspect, reforges. For your armor, the chances are very easy. From the blacksmith, you go with the fierce, and from a reforged stone, you would go with ancient. For your sword, on the other hand, you want to use fabled. The ancient debate of withered versus fabled pretty much got settled after the strength nerf. So yeah, fabled did get a little bit of a hit with a 5% decrease of possible damage, but it's still the best reforge. With Talisman, you kinda have to look yourself because the Nether update has just released and I don't have any insight on the best reforges yet. So that's gonna be it for reforges, and let's get into the next topic. Before we do get into this next topic, a quick explanation about Talisman. Talisman are obtainable from doing certain events or from buying them off the auction house. I recommend you get at least some of these accessories. I'd say having it filled up to at least the 3rd row, probably the hop for 5th row, and you should fill it all the way full, but I don't have that either. Yeah, talisman are so important for your damage, and your damage would probably be slashed in half if you. Now, a brief explanation about enchantments. Yeah, obviously enchantments are really good. Main enchantments would be First Strike. This increases your first hit damage by 100%, which is literally the most OP thing ever. Then you want either Sharpness or Smite 5. Both will do. Smite will just deal a little bit more damage inside a dungeon and against zombies, and Sharpness is overall the best. For an ultimate enchant, there's really only 3 good ones for damage, being Combo, Swarm, and Soul Eater. Swarm is really good on Atom Split Katanas for Enderman because there's a lot of enemy nearby. It's also okay for dungeons because there's a lot of enemies. Then Combo, it gives you strength, crit chance, whatever. The more the more kills you have in a row, it cancels out after a few seconds, so make sure to keep that combo going. And then Soul Eater is the best one, also the most expensive one. It eats up the soul, and for Soul Eater 5, it applies it to your next hit with a 10x. Last but not least, but definitely the worst for your purse, is pets. When you start off, you want to make sure you buy this very OP pet, I'd say. Luckily for me, Diana was elected, but Mayor Aatrox is here. I don't know why that is, but Diana sells this thing called the Uncommon Griffin Pet. The Uncommon Griffin Pet gives great stats for its cost, and I highly recommend everybody to get it. After this, you should probably go over to the Epic Tiger or Lion. Both are just incredibly good. Lion for first hit damage and ferocity on the Tiger makes it a little bit better than the Lion. Then, now the expensive boys. The first one I want to talk about is the Ender Dragon. We can go over here. You can see the Ender Dragon. Lowest bid is 310k, but but you would want the legendary one. You can also buy this with a tier boost, but then you don't have a pet item. This pet is incredibly expensive, and it's so good because of its superior stat. It increases all of your stats by 10%. It just has great base stats for its cost, and it's really worth it. Then, last but not least, you have the Golden Dragon. This also has a really good base stat. It gives you a lot of magic find, attack speed, and strength based on your collections and money in your bank, but it's just a tiny bit more expensive. Well, a little bit, like a lot more expensive. Although G-Drag is just a little bit better, it's very scenario based, so I would recommend getting the E-Drag over the G-Drag, looking that it also gives a 10% increase in health and defense, boosting your EHP quite a bit. These were definitely the most important things for dealing damage, and I hope you enjoyed this tutorial. I haven't made one in quite a while, so make sure to like and subscribe when I post after like 2 months. No, we post pretty often, so make sure to like and subscribe to keep up to date with our money making, damage, and gear tutorials. So, for now, this was Tomato, and bye bye.